those flowers will brighten someone's day. And I've gotten so much like someone will message me and say, "Oh, I received these and I was having a terrible day and it just made my day," or something like that. And that is so special. And then for that, so if someone buys a $20 bouquet for their friend, it makes the friend's day, it makes their day awesome. That $20 then gets translated to Christmas gifts for a mom who didn't know that she was going to be able to do that.
Welcome to the One Girl Revolution podcast. It's your girl, Kate, here. This is the place to find inspiring stories of world-changing women and girls every single week. We have a new unique story coming your way every single week, so make sure that you subscribe to the One Girl Revolution podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and everywhere you listen to podcasts. One Girl Revolution is a nonprofit multimedia organization that is dedicated to elevating the voices and stories of world-changing women and girls. You can find all of our podcast episodes, watch our Emmy-nominated documentary series, donate to our nonprofit organization to help us continue our critical work to elevate women's voices and their stories, and so much more on our website at onegirlrevolution.com. Go to the number onegirlrevolution.com today. Week on the One Girl Revolution podcast, I welcome the founder of Maggie's Flowers, Maggie Hartman. This is a really fun one. I loved this episode, and I'm so excited to share my conversation with Maggie with you. Maggie's Flowers brings Christmas presents to those in need through the beauty of flowers. When Maggie was little, she wanted to fundraise some extra money for a family trip. She did that one year, and then the following summer, she decided to keep growing and selling flowers, but instead wanted to help others in need. She came up with a concept that she would grow and sell flowers and then use the money that she received to buy Christmas gifts for children in need. Now here we are many years later, and Maggie's Flowers is a thriving social enterprise organization that is giving back to the community through Christmas gifts and love. Maggie joins the One Girl Revolution podcast to share her own life story and how she came up with the idea for Maggie's Flowers and how it's grown and evolved to where it is now, showering hundreds of families every year with Christmas cheer and love. You are going to love Maggie and her inspiring story. You don't want to miss this incredible episode. Here's my conversation with Maggie. Maggie, welcome to the One Girl Revolution podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited to have you on. I feel like it's been a long time coming because we've been exchanging messages on social media and trying to figure out a day and time, but I'm so grateful and so excited to finally be talking to you. And I actually found your story through a friend of mine, Mary Beth. Shout out to Mary Beth. She listens to this podcast and she was like, "Hey, you need to know about Maggie and Maggie's Flowers, and this girl's amazing." And I just am so excited to be sitting with you. So thank you so much for your time and for being on the podcast.
Of course, I'm so excited to be here.
So I want to hear a little bit about you. We're going to get into Maggie's Flowers and all the great work that you're doing, but I would love to hear just a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and just a little bit about your life.
Well, my name is Maggie. I'm 18. I am a freshman at Hope College in Holland, Michigan. I have a brother who's a year younger than me. He's a senior in high school. I'm going to school to become a history teacher, which is super exciting. I'm really passionate about that. That's just kind of a little bit about me. So I'm usually at school. It's usually where you'll find me, is where I am right now. Um, Really, it's either doing schoolwork or working on Maggie's Flowers.
That's awesome. Well, and Maggie's Flowers has continued since you went to college. I think sometimes,
Oh yeah.
we go through these different chapters of life and maybe something, we start and have an idea or start an initiative, but it's really cool that you've been able to incorporate it into your life. And I know it continues. And you also have helpers. I saw like your mom helped on different things and you have different people that step in. So it takes an army behind every One Girl Revolution. So I want to transition over to Maggie's Flowers. Can you share the story of how Maggie's Flowers started, how the idea sparked?
Absolutely. So when I was 5, we were going on a family vacation to North Carolina, and I decided that I wanted to go hang gliding, as 5-year-olds do, apparently. And so in order to go, it was $100. And my family didn't necessarily have $100 just to spend for me for one thing on this trip. And so my parents were like, "Okay, if you really want to go, I guess you can, because that's the minimum age." just happened to be. So we decided, okay, we're going to fundraise some money to make that happen. And I, growing up, went to the local farmers market and always begged my grandma to buy me some flowers. So we thought that was a super easy and natural thing for me to sell. So, my grandpa made me a little stand and we sold the flowers. And that year I actually raised $200. So my dad was forced to go with me. Um, and then, so I had a great time growing all those flowers and having the stand. So the next year I wanted to do it again. And we didn't have, a vacation where we needed to fundraise for anything. And we were just, but I really enjoyed the flowers. So we kind of brainstormed what we could use that money for. And at 6 at the time, the idea that some kids wouldn't have Christmas presents at Christmas time was kind of the biggest issue for me. So we decided that that was going to be the goal. So that year I bought like 30 Christmas presents and it's really just taken off from there.
And it's continued. That's incredible that for
Yep.
12 years you've been able to do this and it still continues. And I know it's grown and evolved. What was that like for you, doing it at 6 years old? And then was it every year you kind of thought, should I keep doing this? Or did it just kind of take on a life of its own and just continued?
Absolutely. Especially towards the beginning, my parents always, sat me down before we were gonna, order seeds and get started. And they're like, okay, do you want to keep doing this? It's a good thing, but like, is that something you want to do? And every time it was just a resounding yes. And now at this point, it's just become this whole thing that it brings everybody so much joy and it fulfills me so much. And it just is such an awesome thing that I don't want to stop.
So where do you grow the flowers? Because I know that you're like planting seeds, growing some of the flowers, and then where do you sell them?
Yeah, so we moved probably about 5 years ago now. And part of the reason that we moved was to have more garden space. So we have about an acre of garden space total around my house, which is a lot of work in the summer, but it's fun. I have a mixture of perennials, which just kind of come up every year, so there's less upkeep there. And then I do some planted by seed annuals, that type of thing. And then I sell them in a whole bunch of different places. I have 5 roadside stands that I have up over the summer. I have this subscription service where people can buy bouquets for 9 weeks, and I'll just have them made special for them for every week for 9 weeks. And it's so much fun because then I get to make like super cute bouquets with some fun special flowers and stuff like that. I do special orders, I do weddings, pretty much anything that has flowers, I got it.
How do you manage all of that? Because if you have 5 stands and then you're doing weddings and then you're doing this 9 week, like that's so cool, all the different facets of it. But like, who helps you and how do you manage all of that?
It's a full-time job. My family is incredibly supportive. They're so helpful. Um, like I could not do anything without them. My brother helps me so much with like just weeding. That's my least favorite thing. He's so helpful. He'll go out and help me weed. My dad helps me build stands. My mom is definitely my go-to person. She helps keep me on track with all the paperwork stuff and helps me make deliveries when I'm in class or anything like that. My grandma helps make deliveries. She's an awesome gift wrapper, so she'll help me wrap gifts during Christmas time. Like they're just the best. I could not do it without
So how do you get connected to the families and the individuals that you're buying gifts for?
them. So at this point, it's been a few years, so I have kind of a good amount of connections, and now I'm kind of well known, I guess, in the area. So if someone sees a need or sees that someone could need help, they'll just send them my way or let me know about them. The places that I give gifts to right now are I do this big gift event for the school district that I went to, K-12. And so parents can come in and shop in quotation marks for their kids so they can pick out gifts for their kids. We'll wrap them for them so there's no extra cost. And that's an awesome event. Parents can pick out whatever gifts their kids would like. It's a great event. I've worked with food pantries. So the clients who come into the food pantries can also get gifts. Works super well. I work with an organization that helps homeless individuals in kind of the surrounding area, and I get gifts for them. And that's always fun because I make sure to get them like kind of the biggest, best gifts, and but making sure that there's like no batteries and stuff. So I'll be frequently heard around, a Target or a Meijer, like, no batteries, let's go, which is super funny. But my mom will always like watch the Facebook Informed or any sort of posting, anybody that we can hear about that needs gifts, we definitely latch on. Oh,
I
and I
go
forgot
ahead.
about this, sorry. I also give gifts to a local nursing home. So they send me their lists and I buy gifts for them. And I always forget about that one because it's not like little kids, but that's one of my favorites. I get to specially shop for them and it's always fun.
That's so great. And that's such an important population to bring up because even we've had this amazing girl, Ruby Kate Chitsey from Arkansas, and she runs an organization called Three Wishes for Ruby's Residents. And they go into senior living facilities across the country. And now it's gone worldwide because they encourage other young people, other kids to do the same thing where they go into a senior living facility and they say, like, what can we do to brighten their day? What are wishes that we can grant for them? And it's such an important population because a lot of those people, they don't have family members that come and visit them regularly. And maybe they don't even have anybody to buy them Christmas gifts. So it's really sweet that you're going and buying them gifts and wrapping the gifts and delivering them.
Yeah, absolutely. We always think about Christmas as like, oh, we're gonna get gifts for little kids, but those people in the nursing home just want like they just want a nice new sweater. Like
Yeah.
it just
The
it
little things,
makes their
right?
day. Just the little things. Yeah, a nice box of chocolate. Like just simple things, but they really make their day. And I think that they deserve the love just as much.
Yeah, oh, totally. And it's even, we all can relate to that, that it's the little things that we receive that we're like, oh, maybe it wasn't a lot of money, but it was just the thought that went into it. And you're just so thoughtful in all the things that you're delivering. How do you go shop? Do you shop for all the things that you're buying for kids? And do you know, like, are you given some direction? I'm sure that it probably depends because if you're working specifically with a shelter or the food pantry, they might give you a list of toys. Also, we know that there are like specific things like Paw Patrol that are always,
Oh yeah,
popular at Christmas time. But how do you decide what you spend your money on to buy these gifts?
totally. So there's kind of two different subsects. One, we just have a huge stock of toys. And how we get that is it's actually in my basement. It's crazy right now. So during the summer, usually in like late June to July, um, stores will put all of their toys on like super clearance, like 50, 70, sometimes 80 to 90% off. And so we just pick up all the toys that kind of fit what we're looking for that, just so that we can get like high quality toys for like a better price for us. So we can get those Paw Patrol or those Legos or those Barbies, like the name brand stuff that every kid deserves, to go back to school and say, oh, I got that Barbie too, or I also got this Paw Patrol. But our money can go so much farther by getting it on that clearance. And usually when it's clearance, it's only just like the same thing, but in a different package. So it's perfect. And then for things like the nursing home, or sometimes we'll get specific lists with families' needs. Um, we make sure to get those before Black Friday. So Black Friday morning, my mom and I will huddle up with the computer and go Black Friday shopping. Again, 50 to 70% off, all those name brand stuff. So all of it is good quality stuff. Like it's not like dollar store things. Like it's all, which is very important to have like just, name brand stuff, but just at a more affordable price so our money can go farther.
That is so cool. I love like Black Friday shopping and all those different things and how cool that you're using that opportunity to go shopping for other people. And I also think about it, Maggie, that we all can do something, right? Like we all can do like maybe we go on Amazon and buy a couple extra toys and send it to our local shelter or call up a local senior living facility and say, hey, I want to like buy a couple of extra things at Christmas. I want to give back in some way. Sometimes it's time, right? We can give of our time, our talent, our treasure. But what you're doing, we all can emulate that, right? We can all do something. And maybe you know of an elderly neighbor or a family that might be struggling and not be able to get gifts for their kids. And we could just deliver even secretly. Like, I love those stories where it's, you don't even ask the family, you just deliver at night, or
Absolutely.
sometime when they're not home, wrap a couple gifts for the kids, and like, it's a Christmas surprise. What a beautiful thing. And you're doing that on a big scale, but we all can do something.
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer in that. Everybody can do something. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to look the same. In fact, it's better if it doesn't look the same. Everybody can do something to make people's lives better. And I think that's what we should all be doing.
Well, you are making so many people's lives better, and your whole family and the whole Maggie's Flowers community. I know there are a lot of people that are involved and will continue to be involved. Donate to One Girl Revolution's nonprofit organization to help us continue our work, highlighting inspiring women and girls that are changing the world through their lives, promoting their work and their organizations, and building a powerful and positive force out in the world, dedicated to empowering women, their voices, and their stories. Donate at onegirlrevolution.com/donate. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com/donate. I would love, Maggie, to hear a story or two. Is there a story or two that the work that you're doing, and it could be on the flower side, like maybe you sold flowers to somebody and it just brightened their day, or it could be on the flip side, people that are benefiting from the work that you're doing every single day. Is there a story or two of individuals or a family that's really touched your heart in a special way?
Yeah. I thing that I love so much about how the flowers translate to gifts is because every step along the way, there is some aspect of joy. So people usually routinely will order from me and just say, this person is struggling. Can you bring them a bouquet? And I will. Like, I can ding dong ditch the bouquet. I can do whatever they want. I can write a nice note for them and bring that, like, and those flowers will brighten someone's day. And I've gotten so much, like, someone will message me and say, "Oh, I received these and I was having a terrible day and it just made my day," or something like that. And that is so special. And then for that, so someone buys a $20 bouquet for their friend. It makes the friend's day, it makes their day awesome. That $20 then gets translated to Christmas gifts for a mom who didn't know that she was going to be able to do that. Like, and so I've met plenty of people who have received gifts, and like, just the overwhelming emotion. Like, someone just emailed me the other day, like, she was so worried about Christmas already in October. She didn't know what she was going to do. And then, she just opened up her email and the school said, "Here's somebody who can take care of that for you." And she was so overwhelmed by that. I've had people come up to me while I'm selling flowers at markets and say, "You've helped me in the past, and, it means so much." So just hearing those stories, like, just, you know, makes me so overwhelmed, honestly. But I just love that, like, there's no step along the way of this whole journey. It's almost like a cycle that, there's just good happening all around. And I think that's so special.
Yeah, I love the different kind of give back components of things like the flowers, like what you're doing, where it's like, okay, I am going to buy flowers anyways. I may as well buy from Maggie's Flowers, or people that are getting married and they're spending so much money on floral arrangements. And it's like, wow, I could actually just buy from Maggie's Flowers, and then knowing that it has this give back component. And the more flowers that you're able to sell, the more you're able to help people, which is really beautiful too. So I just encourage everybody to keep supporting the work that you're doing.
I couldn't do it without that support. And I appreciate everybody who does, because it's so easy to just, stop by, the grocery store and pick up flowers if that's what they want. But to choose to come and buy flowers from me to then, be able to do that for other people is really, really special and really important.
Maggie, where do you hope that Maggie's Flowers goes from here? I know that it's grown and evolved so much since you started it many moons ago, and you're still really young. So I think it's amazing that it's still continued, even though you're in college. And I know it's balancing a lot of different things and you rely on people. And obviously the summer is a great time because you're off from school, presumably maybe not always, because I know that there are summer classes too. But where do you hope that Maggie's Flowers goes from here?
Yeah, every year I just hope to give away more gifts. So that's always been kind of the goal. So the first year it was 30 gifts. Last year it was 1,300 gifts. My goal this year is 1,500. That's my personal goal. I don't know if we'll make it, but it's always my goal. So I'm always just hoping to expand because it's not, there's never less people who need help. I mean, that's always the goal. But like, I always just want to be able to get the gifts into the hands of people who need them. And I guess the overall goal is that every child, every person will be loved on Christmas. It's really the main goal. But I'm just always hoping to, grow and be able to spread all this joy to more people.
You're spreading so much joy. And I also believe in the ripple effect, right? So you're able to help some
Absolutely.
families. And I'm sure you have stories about that where someone was like, oh, you helped me in this year or this moment when I was having a really difficult time. And now those people are able to go back and help others. And things that we do in the world, they can have a massive impact. We might think like, oh, it's just buying some flowers for Maggie's Flowers that we were going to do anyways. But the ripple effect of that, like you never know. And I'm sure that I will just be so curious to see a couple of years from now, even what that ripple effect looks like for Maggie's Flowers. And also, you don't hear a lot of the stories too, right? A lot of the stories are kind of underground and you might not hear them, but it would be amazing to hear from some of those kids. And who knows where your paths might cross and you might hear those stories. But it's a challenge for all of us to say we can all do something. And we might not think that buying flowers is a big deal, but buying flowers that then opens up an opportunity to buy Christmas gifts for children that might not be able to, or their family might not be able to afford them. That can just have a massive ripple effect and honestly change lives.
Absolutely. You have it right on. Yeah, you never know what, your impact is going to be. So, who knows? And I think that's what's so powerful. A lot of people like, it's Christmas gifts aren't necessarily like a necessity like food is. So it's sometimes it's like, well, there's starving kids. Why are we focusing on Christmas gifts? And I think that there is absolutely like a need for basic needs, but there is also a level of like, okay, your basic needs are met, but there is importance in, having something good and something joyful and something happy and being able to go back to your classroom after Christmas break and say, look, I also, look at the toys that I got too. I had such a great time too, like that type of thing. So I think there's that level of importance of that too.
Joy. You mentioned the word joy,
Yeah.
and that's what I think about is, we've all gone through difficult things in our lives, or maybe people are going through difficult times right now. And these little beacons of hope stem from joy. And so if you're able to
Mhm.
provide these moments of joy, you never know, again, that ripple effect of how just a child receiving a toy that they can then go back to school and talk about, it might just change the rest of their life, the confidence that they have walking into school
Yeah.
and their grades. You just never know. And I don't want to
Yeah.
diminish the power of that. It has so much power.
Absolutely.
Maggie, so you're just so amazing. And it's amazing to me that you sort of, in a way, you've sort of stumbled into this, right? Like you started Maggie's Flowers for one purpose, and now it's sort of taken on a life of its own and grown and evolved. And I can't wait to see where it goes from here. But I'm curious if you could get to the very root of why you do what you do every single day, especially now you're in college, you could just be like, all right, cool. Maggie's Flowers was like a part of my life. And now I'm moving on to my adult chapter, my new life. But no, you've continued it. And every single summer you've continued it. I know you have a great family and support system in the community. And you also see the power of what you're doing. So I'm sure that that's a driving force. But if you could get to the very root of why you do what you do and why you've continued to do this every single year, what would you say that root is?
Yeah, you're totally right. It's hard. It's really hard work, and it would be a lot easier. I have midterms this week, like, and I also have flower orders, so kind of balancing that. I'm trying to get stuff launched for Christmas. It is tough, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like what we talked about earlier, just that being able to be somebody who makes a difference is really what drives. That's the root. Like, however, whatever difference that I can make to make the world better is my driving force when it comes to, my future career as a teacher, as Maggie's Flowers. Like, that's just kind of a part of who I am in a way. So that just really pushes me to keep going. That I know that, like, even though maybe I won't go to bed until 11 tonight because I'm, trying to finish this order, I know that, like, it will make a difference in somebody's life. Like, this is a tangible way to love on people and make people's lives better. I just can't get enough of that.
I love stories like yours too. And a lot of the women that we feature here on One Girl Revolution, they're like, yeah, I'm glad I didn't know how much work it was going to be because I probably wouldn't have done it. And so sometimes when you just step in, you take one step forward and it sort of takes on a life of its own, then you're like, all right, well, I see the value of what I'm doing. I have to keep going. And so you just kind of keep putting one foot in front of the other. And of course, having a support system and having other people get involved is so helpful for you to continue your work, and you're able to do it because you have amazing people that are supporting you.
Absolutely. I joke that my mom didn't know what she got into when she had me. Yeah, it's yeah. You're so right. There's just you just can't stop. It's almost, addictive because it's a lot of work, but then, right when you're like, oh, this is really, really tough, you get that little hit of like, oh my gosh, that was so great. We're able to get all of these gifts and it's great. And it's like, okay, this is a lot of work. And then, oh my goodness, there's another sale and look at all these gifts that we're going to get for these kids. Like, you just can't stop.
We all need to do that. We all need to find ways that we can give back. And, I think in those moments when you're turning on the news, you're seeing all these really dark and difficult things going on in the world and things we're experiencing in our own daily lives. When you give back and find some way to get involved in something, it can change our lives too. And you're a great example of that. Watch In Tandem on One Girl Revolution's website or on our YouTube page. In Tandem is the inspiring story of Caitlin Cullen and her restaurant in Milwaukee, The Tandem. The Tandem does more than just serve food. The Tandem is a family, a community of support for everyone. The Tandem hires people that often no one else will hire, gives them an opportunity, trains them, and helps them find their way in this world. The Tandem is a support system for everyone who walks through their doors. But when COVID hit in March 2020, the Tandem story became even more inspiring. The Tandem closed their doors to customers and began solely feeding people in need during a time when so many people were struggling. Caitlin and the Tandem community fed over 115,000 people during the first year of the pandemic. Absolutely incredible. Watch and share In Tandem today on our website at onegirlrevolution.com. Maggie, I want to ask you, how can people support the work that you're doing and get involved in what you're doing? And then also on the flip side, how can they emulate the work that you're doing in their own communities?
I mean, at the very least, you can, zero entry. You could follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Maggie's Flowers. I have a website, maggiesflowers.org. Those are super ways to just keep, watching what I'm doing and seeing kind of what's going on. And, I'll say that I have my stands are open, or I have extra flowers for sale, or I do Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, that type of stuff. So I'll put that stuff out. And that's just super easy. Just supporting me that way. I always take donations. Sometimes people will just say, thinking about the work that you do, and send a Venmo, or they'll see something at a store and pick up like some gifts. Like, oh, I saw these scarves on clearance and I got them for you. Like, super duper nice. That's always super duper sweet. That's always kind. And just even words of encouragement always help. It, like we talked about, it is tough, but just hearing some people like, that are noticing kind of and appreciating it, I guess, is super duper helpful. I'm always looking for people to help me weed my garden. Let's be honest, my least favorite thing. So, there's always ways. And my philosophy has always been that there's always something that you can do. So if you see a need in your community, you don't have to sell flowers. In fact, don't. It's a lot of work. But if you love flowers, then sell flowers. If your thing is lemonade, then sell lemonade. If you like to mow lawns, then mow lawns. Like there isn't, anything, there isn't one way to do it. Just see a need and find a way to fulfill it in a way that also fulfills you. And I think that's also really important. So, and it again doesn't have to be Christmas presents. If you want to help out, even just volunteering your time at a, you know, food pantry, awesome. Thank you. Good job. Like that's awesome. I think just little things we can do. They're just little things we can do all the time. And just as long as we're looking for that, I think is just a way for everybody to kind of emulate.
Yeah, and we can do so much from our own homes too, right? We don't have to necessarily, sometimes people can be nervous to go and show up at a food pantry or volunteer. Like, I don't really want to be forward facing. Like, I don't know. And the reality is you do it once and you, like you shared, it's like you do it once and it feeds your soul and you see the joy on people's faces and you're like, it's addictive. You want to keep doing it. But I always say on this podcast, the free and easy way that people can support the work you're doing or the work that anyone is doing is just follow on social media and share it. And you never know who's going to be having a wedding and like who could buy their flowers from you to support the work you're doing. But even in our local communities, reach out to it. Just pick up the phone and call or go on Facebook and message a local senior living facility or a local food pantry and say, what are the things that you need, and just send an Amazon shipment order. We don't even have to leave our house and we can just do the things that we already know. And I know that everybody who's listening to this podcast buys stuff on Amazon for the most part, because everybody, I feel like that's their daily thing and it's so easy. But we can all do something. And you're such an example of that, Maggie. And I'm just so grateful to know you and know about you. And I can't wait to see where you go from here. And I will put all of your website and your social media links in the show notes so people can easily get in touch with you and support you in all the different ways. And before I let you go, I always end this podcast on 2 questions. So I'd like to ask you, first question is, you're a one girl revolution. That's why I want to have you on this podcast. You're just doing amazing work and you've been doing it for a while, which is just such a great example to all of us. But who is a one girl revolution in your life? Who is a woman or girl that inspires you?
So I was thinking about this, and it sounds so cheesy, but definitely my mom and my grandma. I They just inspire me every single day. They're so loving and kind and supportive, and I wouldn't be who I am without them. And I think that even just my world would be so much different without them. And I know they've made impacts in so many other people's lives also. So it sounds so cheesy, but I love them so much. And I think they really inspire me to keep being my best and doing my best.
I don't think it's cheesy to give shout outs to our mothers, because I think that that's really important. Moms don't get enough attention and grandmothers definitely don't get enough attention. And it's really beautiful to me that they're so involved, multi-generations are involved in the work that you're doing. And I think that I would love to see more of that and just, women supporting women and, these multi-generations supporting each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
So last question, I always end this podcast on, because we focus on women and girls. I'd like to ask you this last question. If you could leave women and girls around the world with one message, what would it be?
Yeah, so we touched on it a little bit, but I think just that idea that even if it's small, you can do something to make everybody better. And when I think about that, I think of I'm going to be a history teacher. I'm a nerd. I get it. I think of this woman. Her name was Mary Church Terrell, and her kind of motto was lifting as we climb. And the idea is that as we improve and get better, we kind of can take others up with us. So we're all getting better together. And I think that's such an important idea, and it's something that's really stuck with me, that I think is just such a good thing to just have in the back of my mind. Like as we're doing just little things throughout our day, we can just help reach up and bring people up with us and just make everything just a tiny bit better. And if everybody just made everything an inch better, it would be so much a better world, I guess. And I think that's just important. So anything that you can do, anything small, it doesn't have to be a large scale thing, but just little things during the day, send a message to your friend, donate to a food pantry, like anything, just make the world a better place.
Well, you are such an example of that. And I love what you talked about, just how, like, when we stand up, we can uplift other women around us. And I see that happening every single day by the women that we highlight on this podcast and through this platform. And Maggie, you are such a gift. It's such an honor to know you. Thank you so much for being on the One Girl Revolution podcast. And thank you so much for all the incredible work that you do.
Thank you. This was so special.
Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at One Girl Revo. That's the number one girl REVO. And you can find more information on One Girl Revolution at onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number one girlrevolution.com.